Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Ben here from Ben Brush, walking you through one of the videos I just published for a Kickstarter effort I'm co-oping. We figured it would be best if we showed a page from the book to get people interested to see what a sample of the end product would look like. So Frederick, my author, sent me a page and this is what I dreamt up. Typically when authors send me scripts, they vary between super detailed and super vague, and I guess it's up to you. It's preference if you want the author to give you a description of every panel or a vague description of the page, and you can come up with the panels and what's important. Which panel is the biggest is obviously going to be the most important panel on the page, stuff like that. So what you're seeing here is me basically penciling, thumbnailing. I call it roughing. I guess I made that word up. But you get to block in the content, how it fills the panel. You're going to be dealing with negative space and framing, and you're basically a director. And this is what I tell some of my friends that are just getting into sequential storytelling or paneling, is that you're a director and you're going to put a character on the panel and move the camera around so that it's going to fill the page appropriately, and sometimes you're going to want to rotate the camera or put it underneath them or above them or over their shoulder. You just want to make it interesting for the viewer, and for one reason or another that's not a big, it doesn't take a lot of effort for me. I read something and the image is just zapped into my head. A lot of times once it makes it to the page, it's not what I had in my head at all, but it's usually acceptable. But sometimes you have to start over, which is another hard thing for artists or anybody in the creative field to really grasp, is the concept that sometimes you just need to start over. Sometimes it's crap, you just need to scrap it and start from scratch. So we have the previous page is this guy's sister was thrown off a roof, and he's running away from the scene, away from the killer, for whatever purpose. I guess when you see somebody murdered, your first impulse is to run away. But so that's what he's doing. Takes a leap off the building there and grabs onto a drain pipe, and yeah, I guess back to the process. I try not to add a lot of detail. You're probably familiar with thumbnailing if you're an artist. It's not an abstract concept, but this is really important between you and your client, so that you can rough things in and you can show them what you had in mind without you putting in hours and hours of detail into a pencil sketch. So abruptly moving forward, I drop the opacity on my rough layer and I start inking. This is where the real detail goes in. This would be considered penciling if I wasn't inking my own work. Why would I pencil? Why would I rough and then pencil and then ink? I'd be doing the same thing twice. And I actually just met somebody who does do that, and his stuff looks amazing. So maybe I should look into that. But for me, it feels a little redundant, so I don't do it. This is where the real creative process picks up. I get to add blinds to the windows, the razor wire along the roof, some satellite dishes, and even at this point I'm sort of ad-libbing this guy's costume. I haven't character designed this guy yet or concepted him or anything, so I just did whatever came to mind. He's got a sort of a hooded tunic rolled up around the forearm there, and the wind is kind of kicking his hood back a little bit. And it's got a coattail like a tuxedo. I don't know why that intrigues me so much. That's not the first time I've used it. If you guys remember, if anybody's seen my original comic, Control, she had a forked tunic, a tail like that also. I love it. Maybe I got it from Assassin's Creed. He's supposed to look like a bird when he's flying through the air, and you have sharp pieces of cloth tailing behind him. It sort of looks like feathers, so that's probably where I got it. Just take that veil of mystery right off. So here I am putting painstaking detail into the buildings, even though I am keeping it kind of simple. But if you shift click the mouse in Photoshop, it draws a straight line. That's the biggest time saver ever. I use it quite often. As you might have seen from my previous video, I'm also using a Nova 19-inch LCD screen for it's a tablet screen, tablet LCD. It's basically a Cintiq at a quarter of the price, and it's served me quite well for 6 to 8 months now with no hiccups at all. I also just recently bought one of those neoprene gloves to keep it smudge and scratch free, and it's just, my hand glides over the screen now. It's great. And I'm in Missouri, and it's now 104 degrees here, and if I didn't have that glove, my screen would look like a hot, smudgy mess. Anyway, we're getting to the end here, and I'm going to start roughing in the backgrounds. That's usually what sets the scene. And I usually wait to do color on another layer, but this time I'm kind of painting. I'm just kind of going nuts. Adding some last minute inking detail, adding some lighting. Usually when I do a background color layer like you see on the right there with my layers laid out, these are colors that are not going to interfere with anything on the foreground, so I'm just kind of going nuts with the lighting. I also tend to drop the opacity on my color layer so that it adopts some of the background, especially in nighttime scenes. So as you see here, I'm basically almost flood filling in the foreground. It's costume colors, which I went for like a sort of 80s color vibe. Blues and oranges and really vibrant. You know, he's a kid, he's not trying to sneak in anywhere, he's trying to be flamboyant, loud, and fun. Adding in some effects, some bullet streaks, some bricks. There I just threw in some stars. And here comes the tricky part of adding that fog. I should have thought of that a long time ago, but basically swiping the pen all over the screen and getting the direction of the fog, and then I painstakingly go in afterwards and erase what I don't want the fog to cover. I don't know if I'll ever do that again, but it worked, and the result's pretty nice. So there's a basic idea of how I do things. It changes every page. Every time I do it, it's different. I mean, it's basically the same, but sometimes I do the backgrounds first, sometimes I do the flats first, which is just the basic color of the costume and the skin tones and all that stuff. But you basically get the idea. Lots of layers, as you can see on the right. Sometimes even I've got a layer for shadow, a layer for light. Anyway, it changes. Thanks for watching. Make sure you check out benbrush.com and benbrush.com/superluminous for my Kickstarter efforts. Thanks again.